So as we continue our teaching on the first commandment, we're going to break down those three categories that Martin Luther gave us in his explanation of the first commandment, that we should fear, love, and trust in God above all things. So this time we're going to talk about love and trust. Next time we'll talk about fear. So love and trust, they're closely related, right? That's why we're going to do them together. There are a lot of things you can love above God, things that you can turn into idols, or the things that you worship besides God, the things where you find your peace or your security, your meaning, your joy, your future, your understanding of the world other than God. The Bible lists a number of things that very easily become these idols that we love and we trust. One that is spoken about more than you would expect is money. I know a lot of churches get a bad rap for talking about money, but Jesus talked a lot about money. In fact, besides the topic of the kingdom of God and just telling you what it means that God is stepping into human history in order to save you, Jesus talked the most about money. Money is an easy thing to idolize because in a sense, it's the thing that makes everything move in our world. It's the lever by which we can pull ourselves into being a little bit more like God, which was the temptation that Satan gave Adam and Eve in the garden. You will be like God. We all want to be like God. We want to control things. We want to make things happen. We want to create things. And money is most often the thing that allows us to do that. Now, it's not inherently sinful to be rich, to have money. And God is not saying you shouldn't spend your money on yourself sometimes, or that you shouldn't save money and find a certain level of security in your resources that you built up, but that you wouldn't love that thing more than God. So a good test for yourself on this is if you lost all of your money, all of your financial resources, all of your assets, would you be okay? Sure, you'd be disappointed. Sure, you'd be sad, but would you be okay? If you're not, maybe money is an idol for you. Another thing that we tend to love or trust more than God is the world. And by the world, I don't mean the planet, Earth. I mean the things of this world, or we might say experiences in this world. If you love or you trust in those experiences to give you the peace or happiness that you're longing for above God, well then those things have become an idol. Think about this with maybe getting a job or getting a degree, living in a certain place, living a certain lifestyle, having people think a certain thing about you. All those things that we would call experiences, if they are the things that you want more than God, then they become an idol. A way to test yourself on this is to think about your future and think about the things that you want to happen in your future. And then one by one, ask yourself, if that thing didn't happen, would I be okay? If the answer is no, then maybe it's an idol for you. Another thing that we tend to love and trust above God is other people. And that's not inherently a bad thing to love or trust other people, but when we love or trust those people more than we love or trust God, that's where the problem lies. You see this in marriage relationships, where a person thinks of their spouse and their happiness as the most important thing. And certainly it's important, but it's not more important than God. You see this with single people, where they'll think, if I don't get married or I don't get into a relationship, I'm not a good enough person, or I'm not significant, I'm not complete. We see this in our kids. If you're raising kids and your kids aren't behaving the way you want them to behave, well, if that makes you really angry, then maybe your kids are an idol. Or maybe if you think about your kids and how they're going to grow up, if they don't grow up to be the type of people you want them to be, and that really bothers you, maybe they become an idol. The last thing that we love or trust above God is ourselves. Our own wants, our own needs, our own feelings, our own plans, our own intellect. We can put ourselves above God all the time and make God more of an assistant or a sugar daddy of some sort, rather than the one that we fear, love, and trust above all things. And so a good verse for us to remember as we think about loving and trusting God above all things is this verse from Psalm 73. The psalm writer says, "Whom have I in heaven but you, and earth has nothing I desire besides you." In other words, the psalm writer says, if I had everything that I ever wanted, everything that earth can offer me, it would still not compare to having you, God. So next time we'll talk about what it means to fear God above all things, but for now, let's joy in the fact that Jesus has loved and trusted in God perfectly in our place, and that motivates us to love and trust God even more. I'll catch you next time.